What's that scenery?
I promised Carol a variety show she's gonna get one. That's Pigs in Space.
But what about the dance marathon?
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah, we've got a compromise.
Have you ever wondered how a show filled with puppets managed to make both kids and adults laugh out loud for decades? That's the magic of the Muppet Show. Premiering in 1976, the series quickly turned the traditional variety show into a chaotic battlefield where Kermit desperately tried to keep everything under control. Miss Piggy was always ready to explode. Fozzie Bear kept delivering painfully bad jokes, and animals seemed to exist for one purpose: destroying everything in sight. Behind all that craziness was an incredibly talented creative team. Jim Henson, Frank Oz, Dave Goelz, and many other performers created characters with such distinct personalities that audiences could easily forget they were watching puppets. Even more surprisingly, some of the biggest celebrities of the era willingly stepped into this bizarre world and allowed themselves to become part of the joke. Today, we're counting down 20 weird, surprising, and fascinating facts about the Muppet Show. And trust me, number one is something you definitely won't see coming. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a fellow Muppet fan. Now let's raise the curtain and start the countdown. Number 1. Miss Piggy is the co-star everyone wants. Guests on the Muppet Show could completely choose to perform with anyone: charming Kermit, safe Fozzie, or extremely polite Scooter. Yet star after star walking onto the set made a specific request. They wanted to perform with the pig, ready to deliver a karate chop to their face right on television without a shred of remorse. Miss Piggy was the most sought-after companion on the show without any rivals. Her diva star energy exploded to the point that standing in the same frame with Piggy felt more like a voluntary ambush than a standard sketch. Her oversized ego, erratic temper, and absolute belief that every moment on television must revolve around her made famous artists look like supporting characters in their own careers. Yet that was precisely the irresistible pull. Piggy offered stars the chance to clash with a character even bigger than themselves. Elton John once leaned into her theatrical chaos to turn their duet into a classic moment. Decades later, that tradition continues. Modern artists still constantly seek opportunities to pair up with Piggy in special shows, even while knowing full well they will be completely crushed emotionally in front of the camera and ready to enjoy every single second of it. Number 2. Kermit was not originally a frog. The most famous amphibian character in the entertainment world actually spent its entire first 10 years of life without belonging to any amphibious species. Born in 1955, Kermit simply appeared as an extremely polite green creature and was accepted as such by the audience. Jim Henson created the first Kermit prototype for the local television show Sam and Friends in Washington, D.C. With no budget and no supervision, he did what a future creative genius would do: rummage through his family's old clothes. The original version of Kermit was sewn from an old turquoise spring coat discarded by his mother. The inner body was repurposed from Henson's old jeans, and the eyes were a ping-pong ball cut in half with hand-drawn pupils. For over a decade, Kermit was merely an abstract lizard-like character. No clear species, no backstory, and no familiar collar yet. No one called him a frog, and no one needed to. He was simply Kermit. However, the frog identity began to find its way in. Johnny Carson once called him Kermit the Frog on The Tonight Show in 1965, long before this title became official. By 1966, a toy catalog listed Kermit as a strange frog, and the character himself claimed to be a frog in a television special in 1968. This image just naturally sprouted on its own, whether Henson intended it or not. The complete transformation occurred in 1969 in the show Hey Cinderella. Henson redesigned the puppet, replacing the rounded feet with webbed feet and adding the signature pointed collar. This collar served a dual purpose, making Kermit look more like a frog, while cleverly hiding the seam between the neck and body. Around that same time, Kermit clearly defined his personality: calm, earnest, but constantly falling into a state of overwhelm caused by the chaos he created himself. Today, the original version of Kermit, made from the discarded coat, old jeans, and two halves of a ping pong ball, is on display at the Smithsonian Institution as a national treasure. Number 3. The name Muppet was a polite lie. The most famous puppetry brand in television history was actually built on a word Jim Henson made up himself. Yet he constructed a perfect cover story with such confidence that no one ever doubted or verified it. For years, Henson repeatedly explained to the media that Muppet was a clever combination of marionette and puppet. Journalists nodded and took notes as if they had just discovered an artistic code, and Henson simply let the rumor spread. In reality, that was not even his only made-up story. In the 1950s, he once told a reporter that the name was a mix of hand puppet and stick puppet. By the 1970s, he switched to the marionette version, which sounded catchier and was easier to win people over. 2 decades with 2 origins completely fabricated by him, yet not a single newspaper noticed the inconsistency. It was not until the early 1980s that Henson casually admitted the truth in an interview. The name Muppet was simply a word he thought up because he found it sound pleasing. The most absurd detail lies in the fact that Henson almost never used marionettes. Naming his life's work after a puppetry genre he barely touched should have been a massive loophole. Yet for 20 years, not a single person realized it. Number 4. Gonzo was not always Gonzo. Before becoming Gonzo the Great, he was merely Snarl, a scruffy frackle monster living in a cigar box created by Jim Henson for the 1970 special The Great Santa Claus Switch. His biggest performance at the time was simply crawling out of the cigar box to pass medicine to the villain. His appearance was as faint as a wad of lint with eyes. After that show, the puppet entered a state of drifting. He appeared quietly in a few shows in the early 1970s, including a 1974 special with Herb Alpert, looking like a creature that had not yet defined itself. When the Muppet Show launched, the puppet finally had a name and a clear purpose. Even so, in season 1, Gonzo remained quite faint with a permanently sad face left behind. The turning point came when Dave Goelz remodeled the puppet between seasons, adding flexible eyelids. Suddenly, Gonzo could shift from gloomy to wild, helping the character quickly take off. From then on, his origin became a comedy gag. The Muppets constantly guessed what he was: a turkey, a blue creature, or a weirdo. The writing team decided not to provide an answer, relying entirely on this mystery. Gonzo officially became a whatever, the only Muppet character whose species was defined by a shrug. In 1989, the movie Muppets from Space attempted to explain Gonzo as an alien. Although sweet, audiences quietly ignored this detail. Dave Goelz himself later shared that the alien identity served only that specific film, while the title Whatever was the true essence that fit Gonzo. Number 5. Miss Piggy was once a background nobody played by 4 different people. Miss Piggy, the haughty star, martial arts queen, and self-proclaimed center of attention, actually started out as an anonymous pig in the background. She had no lead role, almost didn't even have a name, and was even passed around between multiple puppeteers. The puppet first appeared in 1974 when Frank Oz controlled a character named Piggy Lee on The Tonight Show, purely to lip-sync to a song. A few months later, Jerry Nelson took on another version of her in a Herb Alpert special. After that, Fran Brill played a blonde pig with bead eyes in the Sex and Violence pilot. Through 3 appearances came 3 different puppeteers, and no one truly claimed ownership of the character yet. Her name was originally a tribute. Designer Bonnie Erickson initially named her Miss Piggy Lee after the famous jazz singer Peggy Lee. However, as soon as the character began attracting attention, the crew quietly shortened it to Miss Piggy to avoid trouble with Peggy Lee's lawyers. When The Muppet Show premiered in 1976, Piggy was still just a supporting character. Frank Oz had to share the role with Richard Hunt for most of the first season. Originally, she was built for a running joke, a smitten pig who happened to be in love with Kermit the Frog. That was the entire role. But then everything changed. Oz began to deeply understand the character and build unexpected personality traits for her. A gruff strength hidden behind desperate charm, a quick temper wrapped in an elegant evening gown. That conflict transformed a one-off joke into the show's most complex character. By the end of season 1, Frank Oz officially took over the role full-time. Heading into season 2, Piggy broke out into a major star, anchoring segments like Pigs in Space, Veterinarian's Hospital, and completely overshadowing every guest star. Frank Oz once said that Fozzie was only two-dimensional, Animal had no dimensions, while Miss Piggy was one of the rare Muppets with a truly multi-dimensional personality. Number 6. Statler and Waldorf were named after luxury hotels.
Statler and Waldorf, the two old gentlemen who usually sit up here, have died.
The original internet haters actually appeared decades ago, dressed in sharp suits, sitting in the VIP balcony, and shouting jeers at anyone who stepped onto the stage.
He's actually gone. Will we ever forget him?
Who?
You know, what's his name?
Statler and Waldorf were not random names pulled from a phone book. Both were named after famous luxury hotels in New York, the Statler Hilton and the Waldorf Astoria. These were places filled with crystal chandeliers and waiters in tailcoats, the kind of setting where snobbery over a steak was considered a lifestyle. Jim Henson wittily took the names of two establishments representing luxury and exacting standards to name his two harshest critics. They spent every single episode berating and insulting a variety show that they voluntarily attended week after week. Surprisingly, they were not there because they truly hated the show, but because complaining was their primary source of joy. The connection to these hotels ran even deeper. Waldorf's wife was named Astoria, completing the full brand name Waldorf Astoria. By the time she appeared in a 1979 episode, the show delivered a classic Muppet twist. She looked identical to Statler, but wore a feminine dress. Same face, same smirk, and the same insufferable energy. To this day, the identity of the puppeteer who controlled Astoria remains a mystery. Even though many Muppet performers have been asked over the years, not a single person remembers who was behind that role. They were the original keyboard warriors, only with elegant suits and private seats in the VIP box. Number 7. Canned laughter was a necessity. Initially, Jim Henson insisted on not adding canned laughter to his show. He felt it cheapened the comedy bits and deliberately directed the viewer's reaction, rather than trusting the audience to feel the jokes for themselves. He produced the very first episode without any added laughter. But when reviewing it and testing it with a laugh track spliced in, Henson himself had to admit a harsh reality. The show was genuinely much funnier with that sound. The laugh track was therefore kept, but Henson chose a completely different way to deploy it, because the Muppet Show was recorded in the UK, far away from American studios that shared the same familiar boxed laugh tracks. Henson's team recorded a brand new set of laughs completely from scratch. The cast and production crew recorded their own natural reactions during playback sessions, and those genuine laughs became the show's signature sound. This natural vibe was so vivid that audiences believed the show was recorded live in front of a crowd, with many people even calling in to request tickets. In reality, there was no audience at all. It was just puppeteers making each other laugh in the studio. By a season 2 episode featuring Steve Martin, the script set up a situation where the main show was canceled to hold auditions. This meant no audience existed in the story context, and the laugh track was completely cut out. The only sound echoing then was the laughter of the puppeteers watching from behind the scenes. Richard Hunt's laughter was so loud that the crew had to mix in a bit of pre-recorded audio, so audiences would not think someone was going mad in the back row. From something he was originally hesitant to use, Henson turned it into his own material and spent all 5 seasons playfully teasing it. Number 8. Puppeteers needed physical therapy. The image of the Muppets always appears effortless, vibrant colors, radiant smiles, and fluid movements as if powered by pure joy. But behind the scenes, that joy was sustained by ice packs and orthopedic appointments. Puppetry on The Muppet Show was not just a unique art form, but a survival sport requiring endurance. The working postures were brutal, necks bent sideways, backs arched, and shoulders operating at angles well beyond natural limits. Many scenes required performers to lie flat on their backs in cramped spaces for hours on end, with an exhausting shooting schedule season after season. Dave Goelz, the man behind Gonzo, underwent 4 shoulder surgeries and 1 hip replacement during his career. In total, he endured 9 surgeries just to make a blue whatever feel emotionally alive. And he was not the only case. Chronic injuries to the neck, shoulders, and back were practically a job requirement. As lovable as the characters were, the physical toll was exceptionally high. Henson's team used off-camera monitors to view the action, a technique Henson pioneered back in the 50s. While this was essential to creating the signature Muppet style, it forced performers to continuously move in one direction while staring in another. Over the years, the production team devised creative fixes like harnesses, rigs, and specialized positioning to alleviate the strain. Even so, the core reality remained. Someone always had to hold an arm straight up to elevate the puppet. So every time a character waved or held a pose on screen, a performer's shoulder muscle was actively enduring the strain. Number 9. Sen-El hated the Muppets. Before the Muppet Show was born, Jim Henson was always striving to prove that his puppets were fully capable of serving adults, not just the young audience of Sesame Street. Therefore, when NBC invited him to join Saturday Night Live, SNL, in 1975 to soften the rebellious tone of the new show, Henson quickly seized the opportunity. It seemed like a match made in heaven. In reality, it was the exact opposite. The Muppets appeared regularly in the first season of SNL through a recurring segment called The Land of Gorch. These were not yet the familiar Muppet characters we love today, but King Plubus, Queen Pete, Scred, Wiz, and the Great Stone Idol Fav.
Know what your son Whis is doing?
What, has he locked himself in the bathroom with a magazine again?
No, your son Whis is smoking craters.
On top of Old Smoky!
They lived in a wasteland, constantly dropping sexual innuendos and acting like creatures newly banned from Sesame Street for disciplinary reasons. And here was the key issue that broke everything. Writers Guild rules dictated that only the SNL writing staff was allowed to write scripts for the Muppet segments. Henson and his team were not allowed to touch a single line of text. The fate of the Muppets thus fell completely into the hands of people who absolutely wanted nothing to do with them. Michael O'Donoghue bluntly refused with the classic line, "I don't write for felt." He even called them mucking fuppets in an interview with Playboy magazine. And that was just the sanitized version. Writer Alan Zweibel revealed that they had to draw straws every week, and whoever drew the short straw was punished with writing for the Muppets, much like forced jury duty. The cast was equally unenthusiastic. John Belushi was particularly furious about sharing live broadcast time with puppets, creating a heated turf war behind the scenes. As a result, the scripts for The Land of Gork never truly clicked. When season 1 ended, the Muppets officially parted ways with SNL, but that catastrophic failure ended up saving everything, teaching Henson a priceless lesson. The Muppets could not play guest stars in someone else's world or perform material crafted by others. They needed their own stage, their own writing team, and a free space to create their own chaos. Leaving SNL, the Muppets began building an empire on their own terms. Number 10. Every Muppet character is left-handed. This is a detail that will prevent you from ever watching Muppet episodes the same way again. No matter which episode you play, pay attention to their hands. Kermit strums the banjo with his left hand. Janice and Floyd play guitar left-handed. Fozzie waves, and Scooter points with his left hand as well. If a puppet picks something up or gestures, it is almost always with the left hand. The reason behind this is extremely simple. Most puppeteers are right-handed. The performer's right hand handles the most complex job, inserting inside the puppet's head to control the mouth, sync lines, and tilt the head for expression. That is the fine motor skill that transforms a piece of felt into a living soul. The performer's free left hand takes care of the rest, slipping into the puppet's left glove, like Ernie picking things up, or holding a thin metal rod connected to the left wrist, like Kermit gesturing. While the left arm moves fluidly, the puppet's right arm simply dangles by its side. When a script requires a puppet to use both hands, like Rolf playing the piano or the Swedish chef swinging a knife, a second performer steps in to control the right hand. Industry insiders call this right-handing, and it served as the Muppet apprentice training ground. Before Jim Henson gave you a character of your own, you had to crouch down next to a veteran performer to control one arm, learning to match movement rhythms without missing a beat. Richard Hunt started out doing exactly this on Sesame Street before landing roles like Scooter, Janice, or Statler. Dave Goelz and Steve Whitmire went through the exact same training. Even so, there was one single exception to this rule: Louise Gold. She was the only left-handed puppeteer in the main cast. When she worked, her left hand went inside the puppet's head, leaving her free right hand to operate the character's right hand. As a result, the characters she performed, including Annie Sue Pig, were right-handed in a Muppet world full of lefties. Sharp-eyed fans only need to check which hand a puppet uses to pick up objects to know instantly whether Louise was operating it. Number 11. Mana Mana came from an Italian exploitation film.
Mana Mana. Mana Mana.
The catchy, silly, and addictive melody, once associated with so many people's childhoods, actually had an origin wild enough to shock any parent association. Mana Mana was not originally composed for the Muppets. This song belonged to a 1968 Italian mockumentary titled Sweden, Heaven, and Hell. The film focused on sensationalized and explicit elements to shock audiences, revolving around a fabricated look at Swedish free love culture, liberal lifestyles, nudity, and strip clubs. Composed by Piero Umiliani, the song's original title was Viva la Sauna, Hooray for the Swedish Sauna. In the movie, this tune played during a scene featuring Swedish women wrapped in towels walking into a sauna. It was a breezy jazz track meant for adult audiences. Yet when Jim Henson heard that tune, while most people only perceived the suggestive nature of European cinema, he recognized a comedy goldmine. Henson first introduced the song on Sesame Street in November 1969, performed by a scruffy, wild-haired character later known as Bip Bipadada. Just 3 days later, he brought it to The Ed Sullivan Show. This time, the character was polished up, accompanied by two pink backup singing creatures named Snoats. That exact performance on Ed Sullivan officially shaped the iconic Mana Mana sketch. By 1976, Henson remade the sketch as the opening act for the very first episode of The Muppet Show, turning it into an instant brand trademark. Three scruffy creatures arguing over how to sing a song with no actual words turned out to be pure comedic gold on television. The transformation was complete, scrubbing away all traces of its original suggestive roots. The power of The Muppet Show was so massive that Umiliani's original recording, not the Muppets version, climbed straight into the top 10 music charts in the UK in 1977. A quirky track born from an adult exploitation film ended up dominating the charts simply because puppets turned it into a legend. Number 12. The show ended intentionally, not due to failure. By 1981, The Muppet Show reached a record milestone: 235 million viewers across more than 100 countries. Endless major awards, booming merchandise sales, global reach. Every TV rule at the time said, keep squeezing it until no one is watching anymore. Yet Jim Henson chose to walk away while the show was still at its golden peak. Henson felt the first hairline fractures. The jokes were becoming formulaic, and the inherent chaos was gradually growing predictable. Head writer Jerry Jewell admitted the crew was running out of fresh ideas and absolutely refused to let their passion project turn stale. For a team powered by explosive creativity, playing it safe was the worst warning signal. This retreat was carefully calculated. The impressive debut of the Muppet movie 1979, along with the Great Muppet Caper 1981, proved the puppets could easily thrive on the big screen, freeing Henson to pour his energy into darker, bolder projects like The Dark Crystal. At the same time, hitting the 120-episode mark was the golden threshold for syndication rights, ensuring the Muppet brand would continue generating revenue and staying on air for decades without shooting a single new frame. The most touching detail lay in the final recorded episode featuring guest star Gene Kelly. The writing staff quietly embedded farewells throughout the script. Beauregard panicked, believing the world was ending. The pigs in spaceship flew to the end of the universe. The anonymous voice heard across 119 episodes finally revealed itself, and the veterinarian's hospital finally cured a patient. Gene Kelly himself initially flatly refused to perform Singing in the Rain again. The crew turned that refusal directly into a running joke. Kelly insisted he came only to be an audience member. Yet in the final minutes, when Rolf the dog began playing the intro piano chords, Kelly gave in. He grabbed an umbrella, stepped onto the set to recreate the classic, and closed out the entire series with one of the greatest musical numbers in entertainment history. 120 episodes, a proud, untiring journey, never cheapened by over-commercialization and never overstaying its welcome. While most television shows cling on until they drown, Henson chose to step ashore at high tide, leaving behind a beautiful memory and complete nostalgia. Number 13. America rejected The Muppet Show twice. Before becoming a chaotic yet heartwarming family entertainment show, Jim Henson produced a pilot episode in 1975 with a sensational title that sounded like a parental warning label: The Muppet Show, Sex and Violence.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the end of sex and violence on television.
This was not even his first attempt. A year earlier, Henson had made the pilot The Muppets Valentine Show, but this time he wanted to make a much stronger statement. Tired of the Muppets being pigeonholed as content strictly for young children, this satirical title was his way of mocking the explosion of sex and violence on television at the time. According to Henson himself, it was simply a comedic stunt. Essentially, it contained everything that would give parents a heart attack, but performed by puppets. The pilot even featured a contest themed around the 7 deadly sins, from envy and sloth to lust, judged by puppets with zero moral authority. The host of the show back then was not Kermit, but Nigel, a humanoid Muppet character. Henson deliberately relegated Kermit to a minor guest role in order to build an entirely new lead character, something he later admitted was a mistake. However, behind that chaos lay a goldmine of characters that would endure with the franchise for decades. The band The Electric Mayhem, featuring Dr. Teeth, Floyd Pepper, Janice, Zoot, Animal, Sam the Eagle, The Swedish Chef, Statler and Waldorf, and Crazy Harry. Even early versions of Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, and Gonzo were lurking in the background. Despite receiving much positive feedback, a harsh twist still occurred. American television networks universally refused to buy the rights. Being turned down twice by domestic networks forced Henson to travel to the UK, partnering with Lord Lou Grade to officially put The Muppet Show on the air. Looking back, Sex and Violence accomplished its true mission brilliantly, proving that the Muppets could fully win over adults with sharp humor without losing their inherent warmth. Stripping away the provocation while keeping the intelligence, the perfect formula finally clicked. It just needed to leave America to find someone brave enough to bet on it. Number 14. The Muppet Show returned, and it was a success. For decades, numerous attempts to bring the franchise back never truly reached the top. Muppets Tonight in the 90s or The Office-style mockumentary lasted for a single season, while the unscripted show on Disney Plus faded into obscurity. No one could solve the puzzle simply because no one did The Muppet Show right. They constantly tried to turn the Muppets into something new instead of returning them to their true essence. Then in February 2026, on the 50th anniversary of the show's creation, Disney finally got it. They brought back the legendary variety format, the Muppet Theatre, chaotic backstage madness, and Kermit struggling to hold together everything on the verge of collapsing.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi-ho and welcome to the Muppet Show, everybody.
This return captured every bit of magic. Sabrina Carpenter as the guest star, Maya Rudolph sitting in the audience. Seth Rogen interrupted by Fozzie Bear mid-performance. The results were explosive with 7.58 million views across Disney Plus and ABC, alongside a staggering 98% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics universally agreed. The Muppets do not need to chase trends, they just need to be themselves. The New York Times noted that the Muppets exist outside of time, while Time magazine praised the reboot for capturing both the structure and soul of the original version. The only complaint being that it was not long enough, but the most emotional touchpoint was the presence of Dave Goelz, the man who stepped into the profession years ago with handmade puppets took on a blue whatever named Gonzo, and endured 9 surgeries with damaged shoulders and hips. At 79 years old, he was still standing in the pit, tirelessly holding puppets high above his head. He is the only original member from the 1976 season still performing. Over 50 years later, in the 2026 special, he was still there breathing life into Gonzo, Waldorf, Zoot, and Bunsen Honeydew as if he had never left. This special was viewed as an indirect pilot episode, opening up possibilities for a longer-term comeback. After all the sacrifices behind the scenes, the cramped puppetry pits, the made-up name, or the decision to stop at the peak years ago, the fact that the Muppet Show truly returned is no longer a simple reboot, but the continuation of an unfinished journey. Number 15. The Swedish chef's hands were real, and they rebelled. Every Muppet character on the Muppet Show used felt hands, moved by metal rods or gloved hands. The Swedish chef was the sole exception. The flesh and blood hands poking out from his sleeves were real human hands, and they belonged to Frank Oz. This character was a coordination effort between 2 performers. Jim Henson stood behind the puppet to operate the head and supply the meaningless faux Swedish voice. Henson created this pseudo-language by playing foreign language tapes in his car every morning on his commute, improvising fake recipes while sitting at red lights. His son, Brian, recalled it as the funniest sight he had ever seen. Meanwhile, Frank Oz stood directly behind Henson, thrusting both arms through the character's sleeves to act as the chef's hands. There were no supporting metal rods or gloves, only Oz's bare hands directly chopping, stirring, tossing, and waving real knives and cutting boards. Amidst that pile of dangerous props, Henson had to struggle to keep the puppet's head movements in sync above. The funny part was that Oz loved teasing Henson. He deliberately went off script, grabbing the wrong objects, clumsily dropping props, or pulling unexpected stunts no one saw coming. Receiving 0 advance warning, Henson had no choice but to react in real time, keeping the head steady while improvising the chef's voice to match the chaos Oz was creating below. According to Frank Oz, the best and most explosive Swedish chef sketches were precisely the ones they barely bothered to rehearse beforehand. From a project shunned by all of America, Jim Henson turned lifeless pieces of felt into an enduring pop culture icon. The Muppet Show brought not only laughter, but also proof of boundless creativity. Among these 15 facts, which one shocked you the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification bells so you won't miss upcoming behind-the-scenes film journeys. Thank you so much for accompanying today's video. Goodbye and see you again.